The third and final week of the Green Bay Packers OTA practices are officially in the books. And with that being said, we have more news, notes, highlights, observations from another week at practice. Now, in this video, I wanted to break down three guys who have been looking really good and a couple of players who have maybe not been looking as good as advertised so far. Now, before we jump into the video and break down everything you need to know about the last week of OTA practices, make sure you guys do me a favor, and I want to give a big shout out to, all of the Packers media members out there who work so hard each and every single day to get these highlights out for us, kind of, enabling us to make this video. Without them, these videos aren't really possible. So go follow them on Twitter. They're going to give you real-time updates and real-time highlights of, everything that happens in not only mandatory minicamp, but training camp and everything going forward. So make sure you guys go follow them, man. Big shout out to them and everything that they do. This is not my footage, it is theirs. So with that being said, let's kind of jump into the video. Now, I want you guys to do me a favor real quick and comment down below a player that you think has the capabilities of breaking out this season for the Packers, right? Anybody. It could be a rookie, a second-year player, a veteran, someone they just brought over in free agency. Who do you think has a big year for the Packers? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, there is one person who has been looking way better than I originally thought he would, right? That is Rasheed Walker. Now, this is one where I really want you guys to take with a grain of salt, strictly because there is no pads, there's no contact and whatnot, and things should ramp up as we get into mandatory minicamp and training camp as well. But Rasheed Walker looks like he has insane versatility. And then you look at guys like Elton Jenkins and Sean Ryan and Zach Tom and Jordan Morgan, right? Those guys have been really good as well. But Walker is one of those guys that is, really starting to break out at that left tackle position. And originally they flirted with the possibility of Jordan Morgan stepping in, being that left tackle for the Green Bay Packers on the blind side of Jordan Love. However, they've kind of also moved Morgan to the left guard role a little bit, seeing what he can do in that position. And then Walker has just been so good so far in camp that, it's just really good news, right? It's just really good news that you have one of these guys who is kind of establishing themselves as that blind side protection for Jordan Love. And again, right, we're going to have to wait until, there's games and there's, pads and whatnot to see how good he really is, right? But so far, so good. Definitely one of the biggest positives so far to, camp in Green Bay. But going on to another guy, and we've been talking about him for a while now, a guy that started to break out at the end of last year, a wide receiver in a room with a bunch of great young talent, right? You talk about guys like Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed and even Dontavion Wicks, right? But Bo Melton has probably been one of the best wide receivers in camp so far. And towards the end of last year, they had no other choice but to play him because of the production that he was putting up each and every single day on game day, right? Not in practice, but in games, the man was really good. And, it's tough because there's so many guys that, might hold Bo Melton back a little bit this year because we talked about the depth at wide receiver that they have already. But Bo Melton, a former 7th round pick back in 2022, this is one of those beautiful stories where, you fight, get cut from the Seattle Seahawks and, make your way onto the Green Bay Packers where, they don't even think you're really going to be a big-time player, but you get one opportunity, you get one chance, and you make everything out of it. And now you're coming into the next season and you're showing it again. Bo Melton is a guy who, has been really good. I mean, he had a really good catch in OTAs. I believe it was a 75-yard touchdown in the explosive play machine, or an explosive play machine. The dude is going to, make big time plays when the football is in his hand. So listen, I'm really excited to see how he continues to develop. I'm really excited to see what his role is going to be because, quite frankly, I would be surprised if he doesn't have a role by the start of the season. Now, before we get into a couple of guys who maybe haven't looked so good, do me a favor, hit the like button just so we can get this video out to more Packers fans around the world. But also, subscribe to the channel if you're new. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. And we will be covering the Packers throughout the entirety of the offseason. Now, you might be thinking, what does that mean exactly, right? We're going to be covering the rest of the mandatory minicamp, training camp, preseason, regular season. And once the season does kick off, we're going to be breaking down some all 22 coaches film, making sure you guys are kept up to date with everything going on in the games, who's looking good and whatnot. So make sure you guys join the family, right? It's free. It doesn't cost anything to join the family. So hopefully you guys do that real quick. But with that being said, let's kind of dive right back into the video and talk about a couple of players who maybe haven't been so good in camp so far. Now, there's one that's, I don't think it's concerning, but, the kicker, Anders Carlson, former Auburn kicker, brother of Daniel Carlson, he has not been amazing. Now, to be honest with you, Greg Joseph is here. They added another one in Jack Ponensi. I don't really know how to say his name, but he's here as well. I'm really just, it's not that big of a deal, right? You're going to take the best kicker. He's a 6th-round pick of last year. It would be nice to be able to keep him and keep that 6th-round pick, right? But at the end of the day, you're going to take the best kicker. And if he's not the best kicker, you move on to the next one, right? So, I don't think it's that big of a deal. They have a bunch of depth at the kicker position. So, just going to see how that continues to play out, especially in the preseason. I think that's when you're going to see a little bit more of those guys working, right? Now, into another one. This is probably one of the most interesting ones, in my opinion. Sean Clifford. Now, not that he's been terrible, but I feel like Michael Pratt has just been better. Now, as another former 5th-round pick, right, you're talking about two guys who've been looking bad from last year's draft, and the quarterback Sean Clifford, a kicker, and Anders Carlson. But now they're starting to hit on some draft picks because Michael Pratt actually looks, miles and miles ahead of, and again, no disrespect to Sean Clifford, it just looks like Michael Pratt is a good quarterback, right? He looks like he has came in here and done the work, has, just done some really good things so far. So listen, I'm not saying Sean Clifford is going to get cut. And again, listen, there's no pads, there's no contact, right? So we're going to learn more as time goes on, and he still has a ton of time to really start to get going. We know Sean Clifford could be a good quarterback. We do know that, right? From what he did in college, I know it's a different, game, but still, we know he could be good, and I still have the hope that he can. But Michael Pratt has definitely taken advantage of the reps that he's gone so far as well. Now, this is another guy who hasn't looked amazing, but I am not worried one bit. Eric Stokes. Now, obviously a former 1st-round pick back in 2021. Again, right, we're going to know more when the pads come on and whatnot, but, it hasn't been amazing so far. And again, right, you have Jair Alexander, you have Carrington Valentine, who he's been looking really good, okay? That's probably the biggest takeaway in my eyes with Eric Stokes is Carrington Valentine is actually taking a step up, and he's getting some starting reps on the opposite boundary of Jair Alexander. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit nervous about Eric Stokes, because he's losing some first-team reps here and there. He's flirted with some injuries in the past, so we'll see what happens this year. But, man, I think this Tuesday, Eric Stokes got torched by Bo Melton for that 75-yard touchdown. So that's obviously not a good thing to see. And then, like I said, Valentine is a guy who's been everywhere. He's making big-time plays. Even a guy like Anthony Johnson Jr., he's coming in here and making big-time plays. So there are some corners standing out. I wouldn't really be too nervous right now, but definitely keep your eye out on Carrington Valentine. He's a guy that could be a day one starter this season, right? And again, we talked about the 5th-round pick of Sean Clifford. We talked about the 6th-round pick of Carlson, right? Not playing good from the 2023 draft. But then you have a 7th-round pick of the last year's draft. He's looking really good. And then Anthony Johnson, another 7th-round pick of last year, looking like he could even get some big-time reps this year as well. So, listen, overall, I think they've done a good job drafting. Maybe in some areas, not so much. But, man, I think they're really doing a good job developing some of these guys. And I'm excited for what they can do this season. So, those are probably the biggest breakout players in my opinion. Rasheed Walker, Bo Melton, Carrington Valentine, Anthony Johnson Jr., and then guys who have maybe not looked so good. Sean Clifford, Eric Stokes, just not as good as could be. But also, Michael Pratt's look good as well. So definitely excited to see what's going to continue to go on and how they develop going forward. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. And I'm very excited for Keyshawn Nixon being your kick returner. Oh my God, that dude might change special teams forever for the Green Bay Packers. So join the family, and I'll see you guys in the next Packers update, which should be in the next couple of days. Peace.